Welcome to the New World, deepening conversations in an era of change. My name is Jelle van Baardewijk and today's guest is Kaypacha. Kaypacha, welcome. You are, for me, famous astrologer and also kind of occult guru from YouTube. And I saw that you visited the Netherlands the last few days, and I invited you to talk with us about worldly affairs such as corona, censorship, maybe sustainability policy, maybe Europe, but from an astrological perspective. That's kind of your edge, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it'll be very interesting to see our conversation, what comes up.
Yeah. So maybe to start with the idea of censorship. Now, I know from your own Pelle reports that I've been watching for quite some years, in which you share your ideas on the big cycles of time that you connect to the field of astrology, that you have a strong interest in today's political affairs, mainly how we deal with corona, from the mainstream perspective on corona, what it is, but also how we deal with it, jabs, and so forth. And we as a channel, we share this interest with you. Talking through corona policies from a more critical perspective, and we recently have been cancelled for the second time by YouTube with a video of Robert Malone, who is a worldwide phenomenon on corona. And well, it was a difficult time for us because we were offline for a week. And it made me ponder with several guests already on the topic of censorship. What is censorship? What does it mean when somebody doesn't tolerate you and has the power to silence you?
Yes, indeed.
And that's also my opening question. How do you look at this silencing censorship from your occult, but also astrological perspective? How do you relate it to the movements of the planet in the sky, the movements of planets in the sky?
So I would say a good place to start is just my approach towards astrology. And it's maybe different than other astrologers in that it's not that the planets are doing anything to us. It's not Newtonian physics. It's more quantum physics. It's more that it's a mirror. It's a reflection. It's like a hologram. So as above, so below. As without, so within. The macrocosm mirrors the microcosm. It's not this cause and effect. So all the planetary cycles are just simply reflections of the evolution of consciousness of humanity. Yeah, and our evolution is basically self-knowledge. Self-knowledge equals evolution. So we are evolving, we are becoming more conscious of our unconscious. And we are, so this evolution, path involves waking up, becoming more aware of what is going on beneath the surface, what is going on behind the scenes, what we have been asleep to, where we have been blind. So, so one of these cycles, I always liken it to a Swiss watch. We have the cycles of Pluto, 248 years. We have the cycle of a human life, is Uranus, 84 years. We have the cycle of the moon, 29 days. We have the sun, the solars. So we've got all these different cycles. And they're all intersecting and interacting and, constellating, and these are constantly changing. So this is the way that astrology is just observe and correlate for thousands of years.
And the quality of this correlation is not that of a causal relationship, but
no,
it's a mirror relationship.
Yes.
Can you unpack that a little bit more? Is it what Jung said about synchronicity?
Absolutely.
So it seems to be a coincidence, but you just see patterns that parallel.
In astrology, there's no such thing as accidents.
Oh.
There is no coincidence. There's that crashes your car because there is a need for you to slow down and sit in the hospital and reflect on your life a little bit. Or, you know, that, you know, your spouse leaves you or betrays you, or all these unpredictable events, which are actually correlated with Uranus, is one thing that we can discuss a little more. That's the personal unconscious. Then we have the collective unconscious. And this is Neptune. And so, you know, we have these different levels of unconsciousness. And so what I say is, what we don't understand, what we cannot explain, we call chaos, and we call accidents, and we call coincidence. But what and what astrology says is that there is a greater order. I call it divine intelligence, and it works collectively with humanity and the evolution of our planet and our species. And we are each like a ray of light from the sun, the source, or the creator. So it also acts individually within our own lives. So I can look at your birth chart, and I can look at what your soul intention is for this lifetime, and then we can go farther into understanding what self-knowledge you are seeking in this particular lifetime. Or I can look at the whole constellation, like I do every week with the Pele report. That's just looking at the collective unconscious. And so, you know, so we have the force of Pluto. Pluto symbolizes the force of evolution. And this force of evolution, you know, really goes, you know, it's a 248-year cycle.
Where are we in this cycle right now?
It's in the sign of Capricorn. And it went into the sign of Capricorn in 2008, and it's leaving, going into Aquarius next March for the first time. And then it's going to be there from 2024 really until 2044. So we're going to have 20 years of Pluto moving through Aquarius. It has been, like I say, in Capricorn. And if we look at the symbolism, yes, the archetype of Capricorn, in astrology it's called cardinal earth, okay? Cardinal is Brahma, initiate, create, earth, yes? And it's ruled, ruled is this relationship that it has with the planet Saturn. Every sign has a planetary ruler. Saturn is Chronos, time. Symbolizes ego consciousness, symbolizes third dimensional, earthly, material, physical reality. Chronos is time and space. Has to do with boundaries, laws, rules, authority, government, institutions, everything, man-made laws that brings a sense of order and structure to society. Or for an individual, obviously, for, you know, our ego. And Saturn rules the bones and the teeth and the skeleton, and you know. So you know, so this is structure. And when you look at the structure of the collective, then you're looking at government, you're looking at corporations, you're looking at billionaires, you're looking at those that control and make the laws and the rules and the boundaries that stop anarchy.
And what happens when Pluto enters this sign?
So Pluto now is this...
Almost leaves this sign.
This force of evolution after 248 years. Now it's very interesting, actually, because this year, Pluto returns to where it was on July 4th of 1776, the birth of the United States. This is the first Pluto return of the United States of America. So we see a restructuring, right? We see the government going through this polarization, this, and particularly in the United States, but we can look at the whole global situation, and we can see that this Capricorn has to do with physical, financial security.
Wow.
what we depend on, what we rely on. It's our job, our career, our vocation, our reputation, how people see us in the world, how we show up, and the influence that we have in the world. And then when it comes to the collective consciousness, it has to do with, like I say, those who make the laws and the rules, and the police that enforce them, and the military and everything else that's going on here, with the banks and the finances.
Seems also to be the right moment now to develop the line of thought in the direction of this censorship, because isn't censorship then? Could you perhaps say that censorship is so typical for Pluto in Saturn times?
Absolutely, absolutely. Pluto wants control. Pluto is, it is this very powerful, it symbolizes power. It symbolizes mastery.
But a few minutes ago you articulated this idea of Pluto being the ensoulment force, the force of...
Evolution.
Evolution.
Yes.
So
and as this force of evolution, it works through metamorphosis. It is also Shiva, Kali, the force of death, the force of sex, la petite death, in the French. Yes, so we have this, this whole, it's the end of, in the individual through alchemical transformation, through union with forces beyond our control. This is Pluto, Scorpio, and the 8th house. So it's always dealing with forces beyond our control, which is taxes, death, inheritances,
sex.
Sex. This is other people.
All taboo
other
teams.
People.
All taboo teams.
It is all the taboo. It's and mostly the taboo is money, sex, and death. These are the things that people don't like to talk about. At least their own. They'll talk about other, behind the scenes they'll talk about it, but this is basically, Pluto is like, this force of evolution works through osmosis. It works through the sense that I want to connect with somebody or something or some force that I cannot control, in order to osmose and evolve myself through the other. Through us, we become what we relate to. So if I want to be rich, I'll marry somebody that's got money. I'm attracted to you because you're intelligent and I feel like I'm ignorant. Someone else is very charismatic and I'm shy, and I'm attracted to that. Yeah. So there is, and then through that relationship, I am transformed. I do become richer if I marry somebody who's rich. So there is this desire, and this is where it comes into power and control. There's power in what I know and can control, and there's a sense of powerlessness in what I don't know and I can't control. So Pluto is always after evolving through becoming more powerful, which involves taking more control. And sometimes then it comes into greed. It comes into exploitation. It's like Dracula, the vampire, sucking the blood, right? And becoming more powerful, through exploitation. So Pluto can also, as this force of evolution, we can see it coming around through the sign of Capricorn. And of course, 2008, physical financial security was threatened with a global financial crisis, and the whole banking system, right? And so here is this Earth. In astrology, we have fire, earth, air, and water. Earth is just this practical, this table, my money, my possessions, my house, my bank account, my crypto, but it is, So this is Earth.
So do you expect more problems with the economical system in the last half year that Pluto will be in Capricorn then? Would that be a logical expectation?
We can talk about the finances. That has more to do with Uranus and Taurus.
Okay.
Right now we're looking at censorship.
Yeah. Let's complete that line of thought.
We're looking at government overreach. We're looking at the patriarchal, male-dominated, we are at the top. We are the rich male billionaires that are, wanting to manipulate and dominate. And if I look at the transformation that has occurred, the evolution, okay, of external authority, control, and governmental institutions over these last years, from 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, it's coming right up to 2024. What I see that the evolution has been, in a way, the end. If we look at the evolution of government, it's been more, I would say, the decline of nations giving way to a global domination. And whether this is, the World Health Organization or the Bilderberg or the Davos or the World Economic Forum or Amazon and Microsoft and all the billionaires and SpaceX or whatever. But what we see is global corporations in bed with
NGOs.
So there's this mixture now of business and banks and pharmaceutical companies, sleeping with government and those that are making the laws and the rules, and this osmosis, this merging together, okay, of government along with the with the private sector.
And how would you connect this in astrological terms, or the terms of your repertoire, that the people aren't taken that serious? So it's not a democratic development. So it's not a democratic development. So
absolutely not.
So how come? Is this also for you visible in the sky?
I mean, the way that I would like to look at it is that this is, and my teacher, Jeffrey Wolfgreen, has spoken about the end of patriarchy. That in 6500 BC, there was a shift from female-dominated peace and earth and, harmony and, love and connection and union through now in 6500 BC until now has been masculine, separate, individuate, come into my own property, my own, money, my own ideas, right? I mean, so there has been this individuation that Carl Jung talks about, that we've come out of this primordial, we're all one in the tribe and the bloodline and the clan, and we've become more and more and more individuated, unique, with our specialization and our own unique genius and our intellectual, perspective, empiricism, materialism, separation, ego separation. The ego lives in separation so that the soul can have a material, earthly, third-dimensional experience. So it's the ego's job to keep this body alive. And it does that by saying, this is my body, this is my money, this is my house, this is my property. And so this idea of separation is a very masculine, aspect of reality. So the feminine is about union. And so you have the whole yin, yang, masculine, feminine, day, night, positive, negative. Yeah. It goes on and on and on and on. You have separation and union. You have exhale and inhale. So, we've just been, for 8,500 years, we've been in an exhale, conquer, take, own, possess, build up my own unique perspective, my own unique genius, my individuality. And now this age of Aquarius, which is a 2,000-year age that we're coming into, and we're stepping out of patriarchy. We're moving into hopefully, an enlightened state of awareness where it's unity in diversity. I would say that we have diversified as much as is possible. It's almost the end of the nuclear family. Yeah. I mean, it's every man for himself and every woman for himself and every queer for him or herself or they self. But we have separated and individuated as far as we're going to go. So this is the wave now, is this end of patriarchy. Now, what is born out of this patriarchy is yet to be determined.
And what if...
But what I say is, there's this grasp. This is the last dying grasp of these patriarchs, of these powerful, masculine, selfish, greedy, conquering, exploitative, totalitarian, whether it's the Masons and, or if it's the royal family or, whoever is all behind it. It's their last effort to exert absolute total control over the masses, almost because they know it's their end. They know that this is the end of an era, an end of more than an epoch, right? The end of patriarchy. And it's like they don't want to let this new consciousness, this new society, this new enlightened way of living, this new enlightened reality, they don't want that to really occur.
And are you very optimistic about the possibility that this new era of what you call matriarchy will indeed emerge? I mean, some recent developments, if they, so to say, are a foresight on what we're going to get, are actually much closer to a machine capitalistic world order in which big companies take over control. So can we be hopeful about censorship, that it will be more tolerant? Can we be hopeful in general about tolerance? For instance, also about astrology itself. It's also a typical cancelled field, isn't it? A field that is being tabooized.
We're used to it.
Yeah, you're used to it, yeah.
Yeah.
But are we getting more freedom in the internet realm, in the public conversation, when Pluto enters Aquarius? Or can it also be the other way around, that the strictness will have a new manifestation, a feminine manifestation? Right. You know that men can be exploitative, but women can be as well. Huh?
Oh yeah.
Manipulation.
Yeah. It's not limited to.
It's not limited to men.
Sex. Everybody has a Venus and a Mars. Everybody has an anima and an animus. Everybody has a masculine and a feminine. So I don't want to mix up the principle of the patriarchy and the masculine with men. Even if we look at evolutionary astrology and we look at reincarnation in past lifetimes, we change genders anyway. So we can have, we've been both men and women if we look at it.
Maybe we can get into that later on a little bit more. And first continue on the line of what you expect with the Pluto entering
what I'm
Aquarius.
Expecting, with Pluto coming into Aquarius, all I need to do is look back to what happened with Pluto in Capricorn. I mean, in 2008, even in 2000 and 2005 and 2006, I says, oh boy, Pluto's going into Capricorn. Okay, there is going to be an evolution and a change, and it's going to, kill off the old, the old structures and external authorities, and we're going to have, an enlightened, and I see what's happened.
So you're just sketching out the expectations of other astrologers. They were very optimistic in that time, and then you saw it didn't come out.
Yeah.
And now the same.
And then, of course, 2012 is going to be the end of the Mayan calendar, and there's going to be this new age, and everything's going to be light and love, and I mean, the older I get, and the more astrology I do, and the more that I'm around, the way that I'm seeing is that unfortunately, humanity evolves through pain. It has to get painful before there is a change. They are passive. They follow external authorities. They follow the leader like sheep. Yes, innocent, naive, trusting. In general, this is the general nature of the human being. And they are easily led. And they are easily exploited. And they are easily, brainwashed through, with social media and through many other forms. And so what we have is a situation where I'm seeing now Pluto moving into Capricorn, into Aquarius for the next 20 years. Let's look at the archetype of Aquarius. This archetype of Aquarius it's the collective consciousness.
The collective consciousness?
Yes. As well as the atmosphere. Aquarius also rules the atmosphere and the climate. So we are going to see over the next 20 years, this whole climate change, okay, is going to become another tool, okay, to be used to exploit and control the collective. So here Saturn goes around every 28 years, okay, and it was in 2020 that Saturn went into Aquarius. Saturn is separation. Okay, laws, rules, limits, and so what comes out in 2020? Social distancing. Aquarius is society, Saturn is separation. Separate off society and have them put a muzzle on. Yeah, so they can't even talk to each other, or really have the kids even really learn facial expressions, etc., etc., etc. I mean, I don't want to get off topic, but there's all forms here now. Saturn is in Aquarius until next March. So Pluto goes into Aquarius just as Saturn leaves Aquarius and goes into Pisces, where it's going to stay until 2026. So we can look at these next few years coming up. And this is the interesting thing that, we could really go into today if we want, is the timing of the evolutionary changes. Because what we understand here is that in astrology, everything goes through these evolutionary cycles. And there are 12, we could say, mystery schools, or 12 steps, or 12 stages to an evolutionary development. And it starts with Aries as the first, and it goes around through Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Capricorn is the 10th, Aquarius is the 11th, and Pisces is the 12th. And this is, just if you think of it like a lunar cycle, you have the new moon, comes around to the first quarter, comes around to the full, and comes around to the third quarter, and then goes into this balsamic closing, ending, finishing, completing phase. Right now we have Neptune at the very, very final stages. We'll get to Neptune. We have Saturn closing in on its final stage. And we have Pluto closing its final stage in 2068. And this is when I really feel, okay, the cycle that, the Pluto cycle that began in 1822 is going all the way around and completing itself in 2068. So what I really, this evolutionary cycle, Pluto being the force of evolution, is going to go through these final closing, finishing stages. And it's been in Capricorn, okay, which is the peak, the height of the establishment, right? And then it goes through this Aquarius stage for 20 years, and Pluto moving through Aquarius, and this is where it's a very interesting archetype, this Aquarius, because prior to the discovery of Uranus, Aquarius was ruled by Saturn. Right? And then they discovered Uranus, right around the time of the French Revolution, when they discovered the planet itself, it came to, Uranus, is the co-ruler. In astrology, they call it the co-ruler. And there's really two different types of Aquarians. There's two different types of expressions of Aquarius. One is Saturnian, and the other is Uranian. One is conservative, okay, earthy, we could say astronomy, and the other is Uranian, which is astrology, which is eccentric, bizarre, ahead of its time, from the future, science fiction, visionary, the prophet, this whole, and Saturn is this is science, and this is what we have, and this is the way we've always done it, and so we want to run society. So we have this separation. And this is what I'm seeing going on right now. We have a separation. Some say we're separating timelines. Okay, that's getting pretty far out there. Matthias Desmet talks about, the parallel society.
Yeah.
Yes, we're here, we're talking about a split. And I'm seeing it, and it's even in the Egyptian pyramids. In the Egyptian, and there's a time that says this is a time. If you look at where the sun comes in at the pyramids, there is an entrance to the pyramid, and there is a split. There's a stairway that goes down and a stairway that goes up to the king's chamber, and this is the time. I would say in the Bible they called it the Judgment Day. There's a judgment. You guys go over here. You guys go over here. You people who are interested in evolving, you go over here. You people who are afraid and insecure and nervous, you go over here.
So you expect a further social bifurcation?
Absolutely. This is
mainstream media, alternative media.
Web 2 and Web 3.
Yeah.
Right? Internet, blockchain. Centralized control, individual, free and open. I see it. I see an underground, a subculture, an alternative, societies.
Some people say that spirituality might revive because we have this Neptune in Pisces at the end of the cycle, and astrology you connect it to the Aquarian energy. So is it maybe possible that we enter an era of that we leave secularization behind and that we are again open for occult ideas, or will this remain a taboo?
I think the ones that decide to go over this way are going to open up spiritually, and the ones that decide to stay are going to remain closed spiritually. And this is where we get into the evolutionary stages. We get into the percentages of the population. That
maybe you can show me that a little bit.
Would you?
You took a picture with you?
I do have this picture of it. Oh, it's got to see me first. Facial recognition. Okay.
So that's a depiction of the...
So this is 75% of the... This is basically a soul's journey through the earth plane requiring multiple lifetimes. And we can say that we come through initially, I've got these little arrows at the bottom, and we come through and we just learn about time, space, physical matter, how to survive physically with food, clothing, shelter. And we do that by listening to external authorities, our parents, the boss, the manager, the president, the billionaire, the movie star. We look up to these external authority figures to say, okay, how do I succeed? What is fulfillment? It's like a kid going to school. So I have, workers, managers, and owners. and this happens over lifetimes. And this is 75% of the world's population, of any given population, is in this consensus reality of following the leader, following the one who's got the most money, the most power, the most influence, the biggest following, because I want to be like that. And we learn through, example. We learn through modeling, yeah? So we have many lifetimes of working our way up to getting the bigger car and the bigger house and the bigger wardrobe and the bigger bank account until, after many lifetimes, we're at the top. We're making the laws. We are the president. We are the Jeff Bezos. We are, running the show. We are, we've got the power, and we're, the CEOs of the corporations, and we are in Hollywood making the movies, which determines what people are thinking, and we own Time Warner and the media outlets, and we run what's going on. So this is the very top of this pyramid. Is a very small group of people. Until then, what we say is something happens, and it may take a few lifetimes. It's very physically. We say this is this is Saturn rolled, the conscious ego. It's external authority, and this is the mastering the physical world. And it's comfortable physically, but still there's something unanswered. Because this only deals with the what's right in front of your face, the teachers of the day, the rich people, or the ones who have the most power or whatever.
And then we enter into the Uranian stage.
We move into this Uranian stage when the psychology of the day doesn't solve our schizophrenia, and the medicine of the day doesn't cure our cancer, and the religion of the day molests our kids, or basically like what we're getting in mainstream media is BS to the deepest soul problems. We get everything materially, and we're not fulfilled. We feel purposeless, meaningless, frustrated. So we break out.
First in the modification of a rebel, then an entrepreneur, and then a genius, apparently.
Yes. I will become my own authority. External authority can't solve my problems. These guys don't know what they're doing. So the rebel wants to tear down.
There's Elon Musk over here.
Yeah. This rebel is the Unabomber. Okay, the rebel is the yellow jackets that are going to go out, and we're going to tear down the system, and we're going to blow up the parliament, and we're going to, so there is this anger, and you can see this is 20% of the population.
Oh, yeah.
So these are the individuate. I'm going to think for myself. Forget mainstream media. I'm going to go on to the blockchain. I'm going to go everything alternative. I'm going to start thinking for myself, making my own decisions, my own choices, and I'm going to go, yeah. And when we do that, we start to become more creative, and we start to think outside the box, and we start to develop, different approaches that are unique to our own, right? So this is the process of individuation.
What was the time in your life when you entered over there?
Well, you can be a rebel for 5 lifetimes.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can be an entrepreneur for 10 lifetimes.
Oh, yeah.
This is not an age factor at all. This is, like I say, this is. We spend entire lifetimes at one of these stages.
Is this your combination of Carl Gustav Jung and Maslow's pyramid?
This is, Dane Rudhyar was really the astrologer that first kind of came up with this, and then Jeffrey Wolf Green, my teacher, developed it further, and I've added a couple of things myself.
Let's get to the top then.
So we come to the top here. Here is the top of the individuated. Yes, the Elon Musk, we're Neuralink, and we are we're the visionary. It's the Da Vinci and the Einstein and and so it's the mind is developed as high as it's going to get, and we are as unique and separate, isolated, lonely as we can ever be, right up here, because very few people understand these geniuses. Right? And so there is, at some point, you reach a point where the mind, lives in separation. It's ruled by the ego, plus, minus, good, bad, right, wrong. Our brain is like a transistor making billions of decisions a second. But it is, it is separate. So there is this, what I call the leap from the head to the heart. There is this movement from absolute separation, individuation, to jumping back, like the wave separates and then returns to the sea. We separate from the source that created us, we individuate, and ultimately there is the calling to return to the source that created us. This is the spiritual stage. This is 5% of the population. This is ruled by the planet Neptune. Okay, so it is the collective consciousness. So here, here we have the conscious ego, the personal unconscious, and then the collective unconscious. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. External authority, internal authority, spiritual authority. So this is where we start opening the crown chakra, we start our meditating, we start getting into the quantum physics, the law of one, okay, where it's all mirrors and it's all holograms and it's all subtle energies. You start hearing things other people don't hear, seeing things other people don't see, feeling things other people don't feel. You get very sensitive, 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 sensitive. And it's ruled by Neptune, which goes around every 165 years and is in its home sign of Pisces, because Neptune rules Pisces, spends 14 years in a sign from 2012 to 2026.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of it.
We are in the middle, we're towards the end, okay, of Pisces now, where we are all getting more sensitized, which can also be that we're also getting overstimulated. People are feeling overwhelmed. And it's not so much that things are so overwhelming, so much as we are each psychically becoming more sensitized. And we are, it's like our skin is getting thinner. And we're getting more, it's almost like we're moving towards this unity of consciousness, whether we like it or not.
But also in the manifestation of mass society and mass media, perhaps.
This is also mass media that we're looking at, because Neptune is, now we get into some very esoteric, hard to put into a box. But I can go back to that thing of what we don't understand we call chaos.
Yeah.
But there is no such thing as chaos. There's a divine spiritual order. So Neptune is this divine spiritual order that very often appears as chaos to our intellectual left brain, right, wrong, good, bad, black, white, yes, no, win, lose. Now we step into the spiritual realm. We step into this Neptunian realm of this collective unconscious. And it is just absolutely whoosh. It's like, so Neptune rules movies, music, art, poetry, fashion, oil, mass media. It's the collective unconscious. It's like, so where does fashion come from? I mean, who decided that, shorts are not short anymore? Yeah, who decided that, tattoos are the in thing and piercing is the in thing or whatever, right? Yeah, nobody, but everybody. So this is, Neptunian is very nefarious, very nebulous, very, it rules deception, lies, illusions, thieves, as well as mystical enlightenment and, nirvana and samadhi and, plant medicine or acid that takes you to a whole nother realm of,
Consciousness?
Consciousness. So so this is that's where the sign of Pisces here is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. It's the 12th sign. Infinite potential. The dream, it rules dreams. Out of the dream, out of this infinite potential comes an intention, an impulse, a desire. And that impulse, that desire, that intention goes through all these 12 stages of evolution, and then it returns to this cosmic ocean of Neptune, the ruler of oceans, right, in mythology. So here we have now Neptune, and even then we can break it into decans. There's 3 water signs. The first 10 degrees of Pisces is Pisces, Pisces. The second 10 degrees of Pisces is Pisces, Cancer. The third 10, from 20 to 30 degrees of Pisces is Pisces, Scorpio. So Neptune it's now at 25, okay, and it's going from 25 to 30 from now until 2025, 2026. It's very interesting that Saturn is going to be entering Pisces in 23, and it's going to be staying there, and it's going to join Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. At the very tail end of Pisces comes Aries. So we have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction in 2026. And this period of 2026, 2025, 2026 is a big turning point, yes? Because there's a couple of things that happen. Chiron moves out of Aries into Taurus. Uranus moves out of Taurus into Gemini. There's a number of shifts happening here. So I'm really looking towards, okay, 2025, 2026 as a big shifting point. So first, I think we have this shifting point of Pluto going into Aquarius, Saturn going into Pisces. And for me, I think this is a darkening. I think this is an ending. Saturn doesn't like Pisces. Saturn and Neptune. Neptune is multi-dimensional reality, spiritual reality, okay? The nebulous, ether. Saturn is third dimensional, time, space, get the job done, have ego control, get grounded. So when Saturn goes into Pisces, this is the end of a 28-year cycle. So Saturn going into the Pisces, this is the ending and the finishing and the closing, like I say, of this 28-year cycle. And if we even look at that, we can go back to, I don't know, there was a Saturn-Uranus-Neptune conjunction back in 1989. And this, to me, I want to line that up a little bit with the internet. Kind of the end of Web 1, that was just government and military, emerging out into Web 2, commercial and general and corporate or whatever.
89 of 98?
1989.
1989.
That was a Saturn-Uranus-Neptune conjunction right on the beginning of Capricorn, late Sagittarius. A whole soul group came in at that time that's very powerful.
Yeah, and of course the diminishment of the communism.
Yeah. So we have this whole change in the social order, the social structure, the government, and and then we also this marches on, right? So this is our Saturn cycle coming around.
Do you look at these astrological transit in this way, that you look back to previous conjunctions, see what happened in the world?
Exactly. That's because the conjunction is the seed. Just like the beginning of the year, just like the new moon.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just like a birth. So that is the seed of the cycle. So a Saturn-Neptune cycle, okay, is this, how is the spiritual reality or the dream going to manifest in third dimensional reality? You can have a Venus-Mars cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to be just your sexual relationship. So you look at all the different planetary pairs as having their own unique cycle of evolutionary development. So when we look at this Saturn-Neptune cycle, okay, I think it's like a 42-year cycle. Yeah, they come together every 42 years or so, and so we have this Saturn-Neptune cycle finishing, and then we have a Pluto cycle finishing.
But they also start, huh?
Well, the end begins anew.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there is no end. It's all cycles. So, you know, this, what I'm saying is, so we're at the closing phases. And the closing phases, just think of fall. Okay, the fruit falls off the tree. The trees die. The leaves fall off. The snow comes. You go underground.
Things eclipse.
Yes.
So how do you tie in then Uranus in Taurus? What?
Yeah, well,
you wanted to say some things about that, also relating to the coming years.
It's very interesting because Uranus just began a new cycle. Okay. And I think that was like 2011, that was Fukushima, the same day that Uranus entered Aries and began a new 85-year cycle. Okay, it was the same day that Fukushima went off. Yeah? So Uranus goes around through the 12 signs every 84 years. It spends 7 years in a sign. And we see Uranus, again, as this force of individuation, of the future, of technology, of science, of experimentation. I associate it with the sixth chakra, the third eye, enlightenment, awakening, laser beam. It's the ruler of Aquarius in the Aquarian age. This is why I say we're all waking up and the alarm clock is going off and the hairdryer is going in the bathtub. We're all getting shook out of this 2,000-year age of Pisces into a 2,000-year age of Aquarius. We're birthing the age of Aquarius. This is the very, very beginning. We're in the birth canal now. It's painful. We're getting squeezed. It's the end of a 9-month, enjoying the warmth and juiciness of being in mom's womb. And it's like, get out of here. It's tough. It's hard. And there's a desire, to not on the part of some. I just, want
to go back.
Separation anxiety. I want to go back to the womb. It's like, So, there is, so at this threshold of this Aquarian age, this is why I say it's our children's 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 children that are going to live in the age of Aquarius. We are the forebearers. We are, the birthers. We're the forefathers. We need to usher in a new consciousness. And this ushering in a new consciousness has to do with what? Revolution, rebellion, yes, breaking free, liberating ourselves from an old, it's a whole construct. It's a whole reality of separation. And that whole reality of separation, leads to greed, ownership, hoarding, conquering, have and have-nots, leads to violent rebellion, from the have-nots against the haves.
But do you sometimes hesitate about the romantic idea that you also seem to have about the age of Aquarius? I mean, what if people don't stop doing this?
Well, I'm like I say, I'm rapidly giving up the romantic ideas around Aquarius. I'm afraid that reality is dawning on me. I am waking up personally, to the fact of, the CBDC. We are going to have, digital currency. We're going to have higher surveillance. Pluto moving through 20 years of Aquarius. Technology is at its infancy today. Artificial intelligence is in its infancy. 20 years from now, we're not going to recognize, okay? I mean, 5G, maybe we'll be at 10G by then. I mean, it's going to go exponentially, yes? And the control of governments and banks and pharmaceutical companies, the elite. Aquarius rules the elite.
Can you reflect a little bit on the fact that so many spiritual interested people are actually the same people as those tech people, that astrology is doing pretty good in Silicon Valley and so forth and so on. This is a strange connection, isn't it?
There is yes, that is a strange connection.
Or is this typical Aquarian?
Yeah. No,
I mean,
I don't
Elon
think
Musk
so.
isn't that occult type of guy, but you do see, do you recognize it? That if you enter a tech company, one of the things that surprises me is that they are very spiritual.
Yes, in some ways. I mean,
in some
there's
ways.
a fine line here between this individuaed genius and spiritual, because when we come into that spiritual, we're working more with the heart and more with love. And more, it's not about possessions or material advancement or fame, or it is more about devotion. It is more about forgiveness. It is more about compassion.
Religion.
Religious. Well, I say religion is putting God outside of us. Spirituality is saying that spirit or God is within us.
Oh, yeah.
So I draw a distinction between religion and spirituality. Yeah. And I think religion belongs down here to controlling the masses and the collective mind, and spirituality has more to do with the realization of the law of one, that we are all connected. And I think this comes into our conversation a little bit here too, because the idea here that I understand, in my personal opinion, or approach, is that nobody gets there first. Aquarius is the collective. And if we really look through history, we look at when you ascend, or when you really come into a place, where Christ, Christ turned around and he became a healer teacher. Buddha, rose to, opened his complete consciousness and became a teacher. Yeah, Gandhi rose up, you look at these girls, it's like you hit the ceiling of as much as there is to know or be or realize as a human being. And what do? They all turn around to lift up the common denominator. So my feeling is that nobody gets out of here until we all get out of here.
We need more spiritual teachers.
So, ultimately, all of this separation and isolation and, individuation, it has to metamorphose into Pisces, where we are all one, and we are all going to be fed, clothed, sheltered, caring for each other, loving each other, and that is going to, heal our problems, not killing off half the population. That's not what that's not the way it's happening. You see, and then I'll go into another level here, because I just really want to talk about artificial intelligence. I want to talk about technology. Yeah. And what is going on here, and this idea, that some of these folks have now that we're going to gain immortality through transhumanism.
Download ourselves
into computers. Upload. This whole kind of this is to me the ultimate peak of materialism. I practice Kundalini yoga. I teach Kundalini yoga. It is about raising our spiritual energy, raising our life force, and bringing. And in Kundalini yoga we have 10 bodies. The physical body is one. Then we have the etheric body, the astral body. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Looking at our physical body, even health-wise, medical-wise, the physical body is the final resting place. First, there is a problem on the spiritual level, the astral level, the mental level, the emotional level, and then you get cancer. It's a descending frequency or a descension into density, so the physical form, spiritually speaking, is the final end result of a long process of incarnation from potential to material manifestation is a huge process. So what these guys are doing is they're blindly only looking at the empirical. It started with Sir Francis Bacon. He started the.
But they also look at the consciousness in that sense. So they do look at. Yeah. It's not the body that they want to upload.
True.
It's the mind.
But if they think that they can capture the essence of a human being and put it into a computer, they're missing the essence of what it is to be a human being. So for me, I feel like the evolutionary process is us coming into a greater awareness of what exactly a human being is. And the definition of what it is to be human is growing, expanding, changing, and evolving. And I think that years ago, it was the Industrial Revolution. And we thought, machines and the pistons and the engines and the factories are going to replace and we realize that we're more than machines. Now we've come in with computers. And artificial intelligence.
Now we need to realize that we're more than minds.
And it's going to be, guess what? And we're going to go through this whole, and it could be a very long process,
Can you reflect a little bit on this enormous cultural trend of people feeling estranged in their own bodies? People wanting to change gender, for instance? Because that seems also related to this topic. So is there an ethical or a spiritual meaning in that you embody this or that person in this life? And now what we see is that people go back into their minds and their feelings and say, well, I don't feel at home in my body. It's an odd thing, of course, but it's all, you can say it's a massive, it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And it comes down to an estrangement of the own body that is nevertheless legitimized with the perspective of emancipation, of I wanting to choose for my own bodily reality. People want to choose it. They want to. I feel very, very ambivalent about it. At the one hand, you see people feeling more free when they do it or when they think about it. People have an anima and an animus. At the other hand, isn't it the next trick of conscious modernity? People not accepting who they are. How do you reflect on this? And maybe not only your opinion, but also your astrological interpretation of this. Does this have to do with some kind of star constellation?
Definitely. The astrology of gender selection. So we have, first of all, astrology is based on reincarnation, that the soul chooses the parents, the time and the place and the body and the DNA and the sex, yes, in order to evolve according to its prior life experience and its current life intention. So we have these soul intentions, and they carry over from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. It takes around 8 lifetimes, yes, and this can also be seen in the chart, okay, in your natal birth chart. You can see how many lifetimes you have been spending on the particular soul intentions that you have for this life. And we choose a sex to assist us in that evolutionary intention of our soul. And so we change sexes. We do a gender selection. And this can also be seen in your natal birth chart. And it is what? It's the Cancer-Capricorn axis. The 4th and the 10th house, which in the old astrology was mom and dad. The family axis. It's the genetic axis, the DNA axis. It's the gender selection. So when people have Pluto in the sign of Cancer or Capricorn, or the house of the 4th and the 10th house, which is ruled by Cancer and Capricorn, and or the moon's nodes, which also have to do with the soul intention, in Cancer, Capricorn, or the 4th or 10th house, it indicates a recent gender switch. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. We have an entire soul group that is just now coming in that has done a recent gender switch. So we have a whole soul group born from 2008 to 2024. And our whole society is now integrating this whole generation. Pluto was in Cancer back, my father was born in 1920. He had Pluto in Cancer. That's when women maybe started smoking and wanted to vote. And you got the whole kind of a gender, a revolution that went on, through the 20s, right? When Pluto was going through, Cancer. Now, half the cycle later, it's going through Capricorn, and we have this whole thing going on. Now, what Jeffrey says, my teacher in evolutionary astrology, he says very often, when the soul goes too far out to one polarity, too masculine or too feminine, it gives itself the opposite sex physical body to help bring it back out from the extreme towards a more centered expression of the masculine and feminine.
Oh.
So what we can say is that we go far out into the one polarity of masculine, feminine, and we go, whoa, I'm too macho. I'm too separate, I'm too isolated. I'm going to give myself a female body this lifetime. And through that female body and through what the society and the culture, I am going to, help to, reintegrate my feminine nature. But the fact of the matter is, I have a soul history, a subconscious, unconscious memory of being a man for 10, 20, 30, 40 lifetimes. So I have, it's like, Jeffrey says it takes 2 to 3 lifetimes to get used to the new plumbing. It's like a new pair of high leather boots. Kind of like, oh, whoa, this is new. This is different. This isn't what I'm used to. And ooh, I don't like this. I want to go back to, there's a rejection, there's a rebellion against the transition, that the soul, the unconscious soul, and here's where I get into the ego consciousness is, we're conscious that we use less than 10% of the mass of our brain is conscious. And I apply that just, to like the iceberg or the ego, where only 10% of us is our conscious ego. 90% of us is this unconscious soul. So what we're doing now is we're placing a very strong emphasis, and the technology is allowing us to have more ego control over our gender, over our, over the natural selection, over the natural evolutionary intention of the soul. So technology, what we're seeing is the impact of technology, the power of technology, enhancing this ego which lives in separation and isolation. And so, for me, this is just, and these people might think that they're free, but they're not free. They're addicted to artificial hormones for the rest of their life. This is just another pharmaceutical. This is, to me, this is just another misuse of technology. In the United States anyway, they're getting the government to pay for all the surgeries and all the, mutilation and all the, and then when if you run out, if you're on some island in the Pacific or some sailboat and you run out of your hormones, you're not going to be happy for long. You're not going to feel free for long. You're going to be emotionally and mentally highly disturbed. when you run out of your artificial hormones. So I see a lot of things, the road headed for disaster. I see a lot of disillusionment. I see a lot of failure, where the technology is not going to help us, and the pharmaceutical companies are not going to help us, and the computers are not going to help us, and it's this peeling away of that the human being is. We need to redefine and understand the nature of what it is to be human as more than, and really listen and learn and meditate and download and perceive and develop our intuition, the right brain, instead of the left brain ego, the right brain intuition. Instead of logical, rational, oh yeah, black, white, yes, no, win, lose, da da da, transistors, a square wave. We need to step back into this intuitive, spiritual opening of, the crown chakra. Aquarius rules the third eye and the sixth chakra. Neptune and Pisces rules the crown chakra. So, we are, I'd say, this, Pluto's going to move through Aquarius. And then, I think there's going to be a huge evolutionary development of technology over these next 20 years that is going to lead to exclusiveness. There is going to be an elite group of people that are running the show, that are absolutely free and are absolutely rich and are absolutely, and there's going to be a massive number of people that are exploited, that are not free, that are, absolutely under surveillance and controlled and, used.
But the alienation of our own bodies might be over next year, because you connected that to Pluto in Capricorn. So that might be a topic that we leave, or not. At the other hand, if we start, Aquarius is this sign of artificial intelligence and computers, and this is very strong.
Well, and it's also androgynous. Uranus and Mercury are very androgynous.
Oh.
And it's very interesting that we come out of the matriarchy in 6500 BC, and we come into a patriarchy until now, and the future is maybe not matriarchy or patriarchy. The future can be androgynarchy. The sky's the limit, right? There's no end to the imagination. You just look at all the science fiction movies and novels and everything that's out there. Things can really, we can really metamorphose. With cyborgs and transhumanism, and this is going to get really wild. If it's one thing that Aquarius is, it's extreme, it's unpredictable. Okay, it is eccentric, it is bizarre, it's unusual, it's unconventional, and it's unstable.
And compared to Pisces, then to fish, the era of Pisces is...
Then it comes into disillusionment and dissolving, and all the structures and everything that then it all starts to just like unravel. And the ocean waves just wash away the rock cliffs, yeah? So, the best laid plans of mice and men, just kind of, my sense and my understanding is that, time is the test of truth. Only what is true will exist eternally through time. And what we're doing now, what we're building now, what we're creating now is not timeless. Metal rusts. Electricity runs out. All it takes is one solar flare, and a lot of things are going to shift and change. So, I mean, this is, I see it as a very unstable period, but when Pluto goes through Pisces, and I was just looking ahead for our conversation, it's very interesting, from 2060 to 2065, not only does Pluto come and end its 248-year cycle that began in 1822, but Neptune by that point has come down to 0 degrees of Cancer. So we have a Pluto-Neptune square. This will be, if we go back, to the last, Pluto-Neptune conjunction. I mean, this is a very long-term cycle. So we have cycles upon cycles upon cycles, but all I'm saying is that the Neptune 165-year cycle is ending in 2026. The Saturn 28-year cycle is ending in 2026. The Pluto, cycle, 248-year, okay, it's ending now for the United States, but, its own cycle is ending in 2068. So
we're living in end times.
Yeah, we're living in the end times. And I think that, we may take comfort in the fact that these, that these totalitarian governments and these pharmaceutical companies and these mainstream media, all of this, surveillance and government control and banking, and all this. This is all. I see it as doomed to fail. But the longer it lasts, like my teacher Jeffrey says, the cause of pain is the resistance to evolution. The more that we resist change, the more that we resist evolving, our greater capacities as a human being, the more Pluto and the more this force of evolution, it becomes painful. So the longer all of this artificial, and this reliance and dependency and wrong use of or whatever, to limit the freedom of expression, to limit the sovereignty, to limit autonomy and travel and creativity. The more that this is contained and controlled and resisted, okay, the more painful it's going to be on every level, physical, emotional, and mental. So I see the suicide rate going up. I see depression rates going up, drug use rates going up. Pisces is escape, deny, avoid. It rules addictions. Neptune rules, all forms of drug addiction, alcoholism.
Social media?
And social media. It's funny to have social media and all forms of addiction, all in astrology falls under the same category. Yeah,
it says a lot. Kaypacha, thanks for coming to Leiden. It was really an honor to welcome you here and to hear these mind-blowing ideas of you.
I hope I didn't get too far out there.
No, well, you certainly get too far, but I think I can comprehend most of it, yes. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure sharing with you. And,
so for all of you watching, make sure you check out the Pele report. And good luck digesting all this. Thanks for watching The New World. Vond je dit ook een interessant gesprek? Abonneer je dan vooral op ons kanaal. Dan krijg je iedere keer als eerste nieuwe gesprekken. Bedankt voor het kijken en tot ziens.